So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I just wanted to do a video. We got sent home from work early because of a fucking disaster. But I wanted to talk about what a day in the life of a working fentanyl addict is like. Um, but we're gonna talk more so about the last 6 months of my using because that's where things were at its most intense. Um, I've kind of told the story of how I got loaded. I'll talk about it here. I'll leave a link for the video here, I mean. But um, this is about when I was full blown, like using the fentanyl off the streets after I transitioned from the fake pills to this. And what my regimen, I guess you could say, daily life looked like during that. And so, Um, at this time, I was smoking. I know that the fentanyl I was getting wasn't obviously pure, right? I don't think that in the United States that you can find very much of anything that's not stepped on and that's pure. I don't even think you can find cocaine in most places that isn't laced with fentanyl. So, um, be warned and be careful with that. Even crystal meth, people are dying of fentanyl overdoses because they're smoking meth. Um, Everything's fucking laced with it. People are dying because smoking weed that's laced with it. But I don't think that even like buying something like fentanyl that you're able to find a fucking uncut, you know, source of that. So I was obviously I was buying stepped on shit way stronger than the pills I was taking though. Or smoking. And so once I started buying that stuff, I guess it saved me more money. So it allowed me to use more, I guess you can say. I was buying that stuff for what I was told was $100 a gram. Um, but, and I'd go through one of those in a day. So really, every time I was going to the guy, I was spending $200 or $300, buying 2 or 3 grams. Um, but I was also using a gram of coke a day, just about give or take. I was also, smoking a few, like, kind of bowls of crystal meth every day because I was starting to get the knots. And I was also drinking a fifth of, say, like Jerry's rum every day. Even thinking about that shit, like if I were to smell it, it makes my stomach just turn thinking about it. Same with like the idea of smoking fentanyl, mainly because of how terrible my withdrawals were, and I'm very grateful for that. But so every morning is a fucking process, right? Because if I am able to fall asleep, because by the end of the day, I'll have smoked a lot of fentanyl, but I will also have smoked a good amount of meth and have done a good amount of cocaine. So there are some days where it's like the fentanyl is more prominent in my system, and so it's easier to fall asleep. There's days where maybe I did a little more meth, and so maybe it's not as easy to sleep. I've had plenty of nights where I just would, on a work night, literally just stay up all night, smoking, just taking more hits of meth and fucking, every few hits, it's like do a few hits of fentanyl because you got to keep that fucking beast going too. Um, and I didn't learn this until after I got clean, but I found out that you have like an 8-hour half-life for fentanyl, right? Fentanyl metabolizes and stays in your system for about 8 hours after you last administer it. Um, I didn't know that before. So I'd always been somebody though who was like, I feel like highs do this shit. And I've always been somebody who on the first here, I've got to fucking start using again. Like I'm not waiting for it to do that. I'm fucking going up, down here. Okay, time to fucking get more in me. And that's how I kept my ball rolling. Um, I had a lot of people, like I had somebody who I worked with who was sometimes using with me, tell me that I was very wasteful because I would take these big hits of fucking fentanyl on the foil, and you didn't need to do that, I guess. But I'd already started out gung ho, so I might as well stay gung ho. Anyways, I'd wake up on a work day about 4 in the morning if I hadn't been up all night already. And my morning routine, it was take like 3 to 5 hits of fentanyl off of foil, snort at least one chunk line of cocaine. Sometimes there'd be meth and fentanyl mixed with that into each nostril. Each nostril would get one fat line. And then I would take like a hit or two of meth out of the pookie. And that was what would get me dressed in the morning. And depending on how I felt, a shot or two out of I would always put my rum in a water bottle. I guess easier to carry and shit. Um, Plus, I always kept it in my safety vest in the inside pocket. Um, and so I'd go to work. And now at the time, I was a mechanic. Well, I mean, I was an iron worker, but I fixed all the equipment that operated our tools that we were building a solar field with. I'm not going to incriminate myself and say where I was because, I mean, somebody who knows, maybe somebody who was there might watch this, even though I'm sure most people kind of fucking had an idea of what was going on. It wasn't that hard to see, and you'll understand why. I was in a very unique position, right? A union iron worker. I'm the one person besides the foreman who don't spend all day busting and grinding their ass in the field, because of the position I had at the time. And I feel like that was a detriment to me. Like, it was cool, maybe for a normal person. You had a truck with air conditioning and stuff. In the middle of the desert, you had a trailer that was like workshop. For me, that was just a fucking trap house. I got my work done, but it's because there wasn't consistent work all day long. My main workload was in the morning. I would show up to work an hour early before everybody else would start, and I would service everything that needed to be serviced. Any repairs need to be made, machines need an oil change. That shit would happen in the morning. It also gave me a good hour blank slate of time that I didn't have to deal with anybody to make sure I prepped myself up more, right? I would rush through whatever I had to do. Most night the days though, I would show up, and before I started doing what I had to do, it was okay, take another hit, now another small line, then go. So it's like, to even get a task started, like I don't know how I didn't get fired. It was because I somehow was able to maintain like a a lead on the shit, right? Because there would be times where shit would pile up, but I would have just enough time to catch it back up. Um, I got really lucky. I don't know how I was able to. I don't even think it was me. I do think it was God. At a certain point, things are just not possible in your own hands. That was one of them. I don't think making it through that without being undetected relatively until I had to turn myself into rehab. I don't think that was by my own design. Um, and so, you know, I would finish getting everything ready. I would use, everybody would show up. We'd have the all hands safety meeting. Most of the time for that, I'm in the shitter. I'm in the fucking porta potty and I'm taking another hit because nobody else is allowed to be in there. So it's like, oh, I'll just go hide in there, take a fucking hit, take a fucking line, uh, then come back out. Everybody would leave to go do their respective task. I would, if there was anything that small shit that needed to be done, I would be talking to the foreman. One of the foremen is a very close friend of mine. He's actually one of the people who fucking pushed me into the situation that made me go to rehab. Um, and so, you know, they'd hang out for a bit. They'd tell me what needed to be done. If anything needed to be done, they'd take off. And then throughout the day, I'm going into the bathroom even as often as every 15 minutes. Like, people, if they were to see me at the trailer, they'd be seeing me do this. Into the shitter, out 2 to 5 minutes later, 15 minutes later, into the shitter, out 2 to 5 minutes later, 15 minutes later, into the shitter, out fucking 5, 10 minutes later. And it would get longer because you would do more as you fucking went. And then anytime I was alone, if there was an opportunity to fucking rip the pookie or rip anything in my fucking trailer that was being taken, um, and then so that was the day, that was the work day. And then the end of the workday, as I'm nearing the end of the workday, depending on how much of everything I have left, I know what I have to do after work, right? Depending on if I have less than half a gram of fentanyl, I'm fucking already have called the guy by that point to make sure that I'm good to go get more at some point that day. And for the most part, except for one time, that never really failed. Um, the Coke man, conveniently, one of them worked on the job site with us. Another one lived like 30 minutes from the job site. That was always easy. Same guy also sold crystal, one of them. I got crystal from another person too, about 30 minutes away. So my after work, it kind of sucked too, right? Because from where I was working, the place that I was renting the room and staying, and the place I would go buy dope were the exact opposite direction of the job site. And so if I was needing to go buy dope, and both were about 30 minutes each direction. So if I was leaving after work to go buy dope, it would have to be go 30 minutes this way, hour back this way. So I'm adding an hour to my commute home every single day, almost, because it was almost like every single day that I would have to go and fucking restock. And then so from there, I mean, literally, even if I was just going straight home from work, even if I had just taken a hit before I got into my truck to drive the truck back to the parking lot to get into my car, I wasn't getting all the way home without stopping either at these public bathrooms that were on California City Boulevard, stopping at this gas station, stopping somewhere at the Stater Brothers parking lot and taking a few hits and just getting myself peaked back up. Um, and then, getting the rest of the way home. And then getting home, it was, I mean, there'd be some days I'd like say, screw it, I'm gonna go to the Cal City Park, which was like right down the street, maybe toss a line in the water. But really, the whole time, I like to bass fish too. I'm a lure fisherman, supposedly. I like to throw lures, cast and retrieve. But I'd just be going there to fucking throw something on the bottom, like corn or something, because nobody sold worms nearby. And I'd be, finding ways to sneak getting loaded while I was there. And that only happened a few times the whole time I was living there, like maybe five. The rest of the time, it was I'd be sitting in that room, fucking like watching dumb videos and watching porn and beating off and just getting high the whole fucking time. I mean, it's like every 10, maybe 15 minutes, I'm taking like a hit or two of fentanyl, doing a small bump of coke or a line of coke. Like the biggest like one shot uses were always happening in the morning. Um, and then, we would kind of be gearing down from there, but just keeping the engine maintained and revved throughout the rest of the day. And then, um, man, I was saying something earlier that I wanted to talk about, depending on if I. Oh, okay, so um, I don't know if I talked about the money, right? So I had 30,000 in the bank. Um, was making roughly 2 to 2,500 a week, and by the end of my using, when I had went to treatment, I had $1,200 to my name left, and that's what I was able to blow in like a little under a year, just smoking fentanyl, dope, and doing coke, and alongside the money that I was making every week, that was also being blown as it was coming. I blew probably close to $80,000, like in that period of time, probably. Um, and like I said, there would be times where something cool would come up that I'd want to do, like let's say like a Vegas trip or like going fishing somewhere like a little farther, like Blythe at the River House, and that came with its own caveats too, right? There had to be prior planning that would go into place. Like none of those trips, any of those trips, if you took like and averaged out the cost of those trips, right? Like a Vegas trip, I think, the way we would do it, I'd probably be in for $1,000 trip, right? That's just talking about Vegas and the costs associated with going to Vegas. No matter what, right? If it was a 2-day trip, right? you had to budget to spend another six at least. And that's just in what you're going to bring with you, drug wise, at least in my shoes, right? I had to bring, if I was going to stay for 2 nights, 3 days, I'd bring 4 grams of fentanyl. I'd bring fucking an 8 ball of coke. I'd bring like fucking 2 grams of crystal because I was fucking afraid that I would run out, be far away from home. Because as far as I was in, having to go through withdrawals and being hours away, that's what fucking sent me to rehab. That's what put me in the hospital and made me decide, okay, it's time. I wouldn't have been able to do that in Vegas. I mean, I'm sure I would have. I would have just ended up in the hospital. But I was trying my dear hardest that I could to not have to be in that situation and not have to feel those. Because I'd felt withdrawals once before I went through them, and it was then the most miserable thing I'd ever been through in my life, physically, mentally. I've been through a lot mentally too. Um, and so I wanted to make sure that I never had to worry about that if I was on a trip. And even for Havasu, when I went to the hospital and went to treatment, I was convinced I had enough. It was a 4 night trip. I brought like almost a quarter ounce of fentanyl, I think, or like 6 grams. Um, like more than an 8 ball of coke. And I ran out of that like 2 days before I was supposed to leave coke. Um, and then the fentanyl I ran out of the day before I was supposed to leave, and I was going to leave, and I was, trying to find my shit to pack it, and my buddy caught on because he walked into the bathroom the night before and seen me smoking hot oil, and he knew what was going on. He had known, but he didn't know. It wasn't confirmed. He just heard rumors. Um, but yeah, that was the end. But what I was gonna say is getting to go anywhere was a fucking astronomical challenge that made almost every trip you would go on twice as expensive because you had to make sure that you were going to be well. And that was another shitty thing, right? There was no enjoying a trip for what it was. Because for me, even being in like Lake Havasu, being in Vegas, it was very dangerous. I was going to bathrooms every 20 to 30 minutes because I had to maintain a high. I was, taking hits of fentanyl and trying to ghost it so I wouldn't blow any smoke out and harm anybody. I was snorting these fat lines of coke, like trying to be quiet in the fucking bathroom stall, like, fucking trying to find a way to bump a line of crystal meth because you can't really smoke that in a bathroom because what do you do? Blow a fucking big old vape cloud out? Like, shit didn't work. And so it got very reckless towards the end. And especially if you wanted to do something, like you were taking very heavy risks. And so it became easier to not do anything. In fact, leading up to that Havasu trip, Vegas was the last thing I'd done. That was like a month and a half before, which is actually pretty close. But before that, it had been months and months before since I'd gone on anything. I'd canceled trips with friends, canceled rounds of golf with friends, like even stuff as small as that. A 4 hour round of golf would cancel that because it was too hard to worry about trying to sneak getting high without getting caught. Um, and yeah, that was life. That was all life was, especially towards the end, was just making sure I was always gonna feel okay. Because it wasn't even like I was really getting high anymore. It was really just maintaining a feeling of feeling okay. Um, there was no like smoking it and being like, ooh, fucking yeah, no. No, it was just like, oh fuck, okay, yeah, I feel like fucking shit. Like, god damn, I can't fucking even move right now. Like, and then you fucking go mosey onto the shelf and you fucking take a hit and you're like, oh fuck, alright, I can start to move. Let me take another hit. Okay, maybe I can put my clothes on. Let me take another hit. Alright, fucking think I got my clothes on, I'll do a line of coke, and then maybe I'll find my keys, and then I'll do another line of coke, and then I'll fucking go grab my lunch out of the fridge and fucking get in the car, even though I'm not gonna eat it. And that was it. Every fucking, I probably used the bathroom more in that fucking like 8 months to a year-ish than I did since then. And the fucking few years before then, um, I lived in the bathroom. I was constantly in the fucking bathroom. Everywhere I fucking went except for at home. I was always in the bathroom. In Vegas, every 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes. In Havasu, if we were at the beach, I was fucking walking a half a mile to the bathroom every fucking 30 minutes saying I had to pee. And people going, why don't you just go in the fucking water? I mean, well, it's fucking kind of gross. But who are we fucking kidding? The reason I was not going in the fucking water was because I was going to use drugs. Uh, at work, it was more frequent than that because I was able to get comfortable at work. I knew who I had to expect around. I knew who was going to be around. I knew who I had to worry about. So it was very easy to work around those things. I was usually always fucking alone for about a half a mile worth of distance in any direction because my trailers would be here, work would be going on here. And fucking, I had a bathroom all the time, so it was very easy. It was just in and out all fucking day long. I lived in a bathroom, and trust me, I do know very well that I got fucking really, really lucky that I didn't tear my life. Like $80,000, however much money I spent was a very fucking cheap price to pay to save, be able to keep my life. Um, I almost spent that money to die, you know. Crazy to think about that. I almost blew all that money just to die. Um, but yeah, I got very lucky. I got very lucky that I was able to turn it around. Very lucky that I didn't burn any bridges. I think where this all comes from is that I was very lucky I was able to maintain my career even after, I just became a journeyman recently. But able to like not burn my entire life down. And I think that that all solely comes from me having such a decent income at the time because it kept me from having to stoop too fucking low to keep my habit fed. Because I feel like that when you have to stoop a certain level downward, that's when you start losing everybody in your life because you start burning people. And I never really had to do that. And I'm so fucking grateful to God that He allowed me to get through this without having to burn people and fucking stuff like that. And I, I never put anybody who has done stuff like that down in their past because I fucking don't even know how I didn't get to that point. Um, that's like probably one of the easiest things to do once you get to that point because maintaining the high becomes literally more important than fucking anything else. Because if you fucking aren't afraid of going through opiate or fentanyl or fucking most drug withdrawals, you're probably not fucking using a lot. You should just stop right now uh, while you're fucking ahead. But yeah, I really wanted to just make this video to kind of, I don't know, give a little perspective on what the everyday life is like for somebody who isn't like that. My situation's a little different. Um, in no way is this a fucking flex or a brag, but like, I know that most people who, are using the way I was using probably might not have work. Maybe they do. I don't know. I know a lot of the addicts I've had to deal with since I've gotten clean, um, kind of trip out when I tell them what it was like, and they almost don't even believe because of what my life looked like immediately after getting clean. It wasn't completely burned down, and that's because I didn't burn those bridges. And all that is was fucking God having my back and luck. God giving me that luck. But I hope you guys found this informative. I hope you enjoyed this little recount, and I hope that this can do something for somebody because you know, think about this. All that, here I am today, clean, getting to talk about it. And I mean, even this weird shit behind my head, like right here, this ain't mine. Like, I'm in Detroit working right now. Never been to Detroit. I've been traveling the country, getting to work, do stuff I've never done before. Um, and if I can fucking turn it around, and I am one weak-minded individual when it comes to willpower and shit, I think anybody is capable of turning it around and becoming the best version of themselves. Because this may be hard, what we go through. It may hurt a lot of people, including us, a lot, but it teaches us lessons we probably can't learn anywhere else. So take that for what you will, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Probably be back tomorrow because I have the fucking day off. So talk to you then. Love you guys. Thanks for watching.